Welcome to Now College, where we talk about the college experience. I'm your host, Amma, and I want to thank you all for listening. And today, I'm going to be telling you my story. The college story, anyway, that is. So, I graduated with a nutrition degree with a concentration in science after switching from nursing my junior year. So, I graduated with a nutrition degree. So, I graduated from a nutrition So, I graduated with a nutrition degree with a concentration in science after switching from nursing my junior year. And now I'm a video editor and I guess now a podcaster. I know what some of you good listeners are thinking. Well, how'd you go from nutrition to video editing? 2 words. I'm African. I just turned 30, so I grew up in the 90s/early 2000s. Yeah, I would even say mid 2000s, when getting that doctor, lawyer, or engineer title was all there was. I'm sure my first gen kids know what I'm talking about. It wouldn't surprise me if that was still the narrative today. But back then, there was no such thing as following your dreams or even proving that case with a quick Google search of people who are doing it. All I knew was what was around me. And what was around me were scholars. And what was around me were scholars. So when I went to middle school, I knew I had to pick a subject and make it my favorite. Either science to become a doctor, math to become an engineer, or history to become a lawyer. History, right? Yeah, in that ballpark. Okay. So anyway, science was definitely the easiest at the time for me out of those 3. So I went with it. I was to be a doctor. From 6th grade until my sophomore year of college, I was convinced that I was in fact in love with science. Now, I would say science is cool, but love, that's just too far. Nah. So, how did I get into video editing? Well, that's a great question. So there I am, my second to last year of college. I was 2 credits short of being a full-time student to receive my grant for the year. And I immediately said to myself, there is no fucking way I'm taking another science class. Like, I don't care. I'm not doing it. I don't even care if it's intro. It's not going to happen. So I remember my friends talking about this film appreciation course, and all you do is watch movies, basically old movies, but whatever, and you just like write about them or talk about them. So I'm like, great, I do that anyway. So film appreciation it is. I researched for the class. I searched for it when what is it called? So when oh Lord, what is it called? Picking your classes. Oh, so when registration came around, I searched for it specifically after getting my main courses, of course, and then I searched for it. And of course, it's all filled up. I'm like, damn, like, God, this is supposed to be like easy for me. I gotta get 2 extra credits. I'm not taking a PE class. I'm not doing anything else. Like, I want to do something chill, something simple. So I refined my search and I So I refined my search to all the courses in that program, which was called Media Studies. So I scrolled all the way down through the Media Studies program, and there it was: Introduction to Media Production for Non-Majors. Wow. Just wow. And from that first day on, I've pretty much been in the media field. That class truly inspired me. It was the first time I recognized that. It was the first time I recognized what old people who sat in the front of the class felt: pure joy. Okay. It wasn't always old people, but the class nerds. You know what I'm talking about. The ones that do research outside of class and then bring those articles inside class and want to discuss it. No, like we're trying to figure out what's on the test. Be quiet. But I became one of them in that particular film class. So, going back, what kind of student were you from K through 12? Well, if you're following the podcast, that's one of the main questions I asked to get the ball rolling about school and how you majored choice for college and how you made your choice to go to college. Well, like most of our guests, I became a different type of student throughout my school year. For me, I was a certain type of student from K through 4, and then another one from fourth grade to like my senior year, and then another one, and then another one. Anyway, 4th grade to 5th grade was a very pivotal moment. And looking back, I know exactly what it was. I failed it. I failed the 4th grade. Later on at my college graduation, I found out that I was actually held back, that my dad and my teacher had some sort of meeting and decided what was best for me. So I wish they kind of would have told me the truth, but it is what it is. I believed I failed it, and I felt shame, embarrassment, hopelessness, all the above for like the whole summer. I was going to sit back. I was going to go back to the 4th grade hall. Even in this moment right now, I'm thinking not only was there a 4th grade hall, there was a 5th grade building, and they didn't wear uniforms. How? That's just so, it's so visual. Here I am, the 4th grade, the first time. You're 8-9 years old. You can't wait to not wear a uniform and go to the 5th grade building the next year. And then I fail, and not only am I not going to be in that building, I gotta wear these uniforms again. So during that summer, I know I must have been sad and felt shame. I can't really trust my memory about what others were to me at that time, like my siblings or my parents, but I don't really remember any comfort during that time. So I had to figure it out, basically. I did have a different teacher the second time around, and looking back, I feel like she was more structured, and that's what I needed. I just needed structure, no surprises, just a schedule, and keep it moving. So before the first day of school, I had that mindset of, I'm going to get into that 5th grade building. Like, I can't believe I was actually left behind. And my school, my grades became out of fear of being left behind again. So between 4th grade, the second time, and my senior year, I pretty much made A's and B's with like a handful of C's. So, was college always on your mind? Yes, I'm African. Weren't you listening? To me, at the time, going to college wasn't an accomplishment. It was just the next step, or the 13th grade, or whatever. I applied to 3 schools, and I got into one by fall anyway. And it was the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, or UNCG. I chose nursing as my major because I truly did want to help people. I have older parents. They had me in their 40s. And so I've been to a lot of doctor's appointments as, the driver, or a lot of hospitals, or in and out of hospitals, picking up prescription pills. And it wasn't just them. Like, they too had older friends who I would hear about, like, oh, Dr. So-and-so is sick, or Miss So-and-so was diagnosed with this. And so seeing how lives would be affected so drastically by one diagnosis or an accident got me sympathetic for healthcare, so I could be a part of the solution. Also, nursing was sexy. It was hip. It was cool. Like, ooh, you a nurse? Damn, you got money. It was the thing. Like, North Carolina, you're a farmer, engineer, or nurse. That's pretty much it. That's what I saw anyway. That you were doing well. You were doing all right. So, and I was cool with science, so nursing it is. That's literally how I made my choice. And I'm sure UNCG had something to do with that choice. That's the only school I got into. I wanted to pick something of note in a way. So that school was known for nursing. I mean, they got their own nursing building, their own school of nursing. Their stats were like 100% job security. Like, you're going to get a job if UNCG is attached to your name. 99% of people pass the nursing exam, and I think they were like top 5 on the East Coast. Like, that school was made for nursing. Florence Nightingale, like, she would have been proud. So it was day one at the end of my sophomore year. I was sitting in some nursing class, and we were talking about treating some kind of common disease. I don't know, let's say heart disease. And I raised my hand and I asked, well, how did the person get so bad? Like, isn't there a way we could have stopped this from getting to that point? Like, she had pictures and stuff up, and it looked horrific. I'm like, ugh. So she answered something like very politically correct or scientific, like, well, the fatty deposits sit in the arterial walls, and over time, whatever. And I'm like, no, like, how did it get so bad? Like, how do we prevent that? You know what I mean? Like, how do we combat that? And finally, she threw up her hands and she said, honey, you're talking about prevention, and that's nutrition. So I became a college student that changed their major junior year. Yeah, it was the best decision, and at the same time, it was the worst decision. My first nutrition course was a breeze. I mean, I had finally found my lane. That class was structured, the teacher was knowledgeable, the assignments and the tests were practical. You knew what you were getting. All you had to do was do it, and you would get an A. So I got an A. And it stopped there. The easy part. That was the only nutrition course that made sense to me, honestly. I actually had that professor again later, and I did well in her class too. So I think she's just a great teacher. But in other courses, not so much. Looking back, it seemed like the department was just making it up as they went along. I mean, they were a young department. The nursing department, literally the dawn of the school. It's been there. So they've had time to refine their department and their program. And okay, scratch that. Looking back, it seemed like the department was just making it up as they went along, especially with the extra courses they just slid into the program requirements to begin with. They just slid into the program requirements. Like, I was like a year or two in. But soon I saw my GPA drop from a 3.3 to like a 2.8. In all fairness, I soon learned that this department was like 5 years old. So when I compared it to the nursing department, which of course I would, I just came from there. It's the same school. But that's another thing I learned. Not all programs are created equal. Even though some majors are tough, the program, the professors, the course load, the internship opportunities, networking, it can be curated throughout the years and become like this well-tuned machine so that students in that program literally just have to show up and fall in line, follow the script, and they'll be good. Nutrition was not that major. You had to work. So I'm 3 years into this new major. I'm like 24 years old. All my peers are finishing up their master's program and working salary jobs or traveling, hell. And here I am just like scraping to get by. So now in my concentration, which was dietetics at the time, you were required to work some hours in that field. So it would be food, some sense of like food, medical, and I want to say community, which makes sense because those were the three concentrations, and dietetics was like the summation of all of them. So you had dietetics, community, and science as concentrations. So in order to get those hours, you had to work. Like many students, including myself, tried to do all these requirements at once while getting a degree. So I was working at a fine dining restaurant and a nursing home as a CNA to complete these requirements by graduation. So my fall semester of 2014, shit hit the fan. I failed a kinesiology course and an upper level nutrition course. This made my passing percentage rate for the semester 66%. Now, remember that number, okay? 66%. Soon enough, I got an academic probation letter. I thought, no, this can't be right. I could have failed every class. There's no way my GPA would have went from like a 2.8 to below a 2.0, because that's when you got the letter, when it was below 2.0. And even below a 2.0, it was a warning. I want to say below a 1.0 was probation. So I'm like, okay, there was clearly some identity theft going on here. Let me contact them. So I called the registrar's office to get the money. I called the registrar's office to get to the bottom of this, because this was more than about grades. This was about money. I was taking out loans, so this would affect my eligibility, and that would basically be that would be the end of my college career. So I pulled out all my grades and calculations that something must be off. Then, as I was on the phone with them, they hit me with the fine print. You must have a cumulative GPA of 2.0 overall and per semester, and pass 67% of classes each semester. What? All my senses left my body, y'all. I was numb. I was truly numb. My whole life since fourth grade had been a game of catch-up. And to me, that race was officially over. Side note, I fact-checked this GPA situation for this particular episode, and I discovered something even more intriguing. The rule used to be, which I was correct, you must earn a cumulative GPA of 2.0 for students with 30 credit hours or over, which I fell into. And for students who had less than 30 credit hours, this was a different story, but like overall. But the rule changed. Can you guess when? fall of 2014. It went from a cumulative GPA of 2.0 to a cumulative GPA of 2.0 and a semester grade of 2.0 and a 67% passing rate per semester. So I'm sitting there on academic probation with a 2.4. I mean, this could have happened any other time prior to fall of 2014, and I would have been okay. But it didn't. So mind you, it's fall semester. Final grades come in around early December. So I'm going into the holidays with this. I'll be honest, a part of me thought of just packing it all up, selling everything, and just driving. Where? I don't know. It didn't matter. I could not bear the shame. It was too much. I literally thought about trying to outrun the shame. But before going through with that, I knew for sure that if I kept going, it would be more money and at least one more year. So I had to drop out.